Travis Wayne Goodsall. I've got about an hour before I need to go running, and got inspired last night for this video. It's a continuation of last night's dream. So we're going to include 3rd Nephi chapter 7 with the parable of Joseph Smith from section 101 that was continued in his 19 July 1840 sermon that Brigham Young was so infuriated with that he didn't publish it in his 1844, or the year before he died. But he does refer to it, which means Brigham Young knew all about that talk. He was in the audience, and he was pissed, and he didn't like it, and he didn't publish it, because Brigham Young got exposed as the enemy. The Book of Mormon is Jewish. Joseph Smith is Jewish. They make it very plain and precious to anybody who's capable of reading and understanding what they read. And so thus the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints has been lying to us. And every time where you see the name of the church is Jesus Christ, you know that that's a Brigham Young imposition on the text, a forged document. So, verse 1 of Joseph Smith's 1838 history, yeah, wrong name of the church. Sure enough, confirmed in the Joseph Smith papers. Willard Richards added in Jesus Christ to the name. And so it's an established fact that Brigham Young's church is the great and abominable church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And so if you're a Mormon and you're upset by this, you're focusing your anger on the wrong person. I am not your enemy. And so, as the great and abominable church, it's altered everything. You are now being born and raised and converted to interpret the words of Joseph Smith and the Book of Mormon as a Christian, non-Trinitarian, and thus superimpose this on the Bible. Whereas Constantine, Roman Emperor, 325 CE at the Council of Nicaea, imposed Christianity, created for the very first time, onto the Jewish scriptures, and thus turned them literal history, and thus they were placed in a chronological order when Christians assembled their Bible, rejecting what didn't fit the first creed's narrative. They're articles of faith. And so many books were left out. And those books that were included were put in the chronological order that we have them in. And for a Christian to deny this, to not even know about it, yeah, that's almost as pathetic as Mormons who are unaware of this fact for their own church. So, as a result, there's the worst abomination that is created by turning the Jewish scriptures into literal histories. For Christians, a dove representing the Holy Ghost rapes Mary, and she has raped baby Jesus. But for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, they've now turned Heavenly Father and Jesus as non-Trinitarian, and so Heavenly Father now is imposed upon Nephi's dream of the birth of Christ to be the one to rape his 14-year-old daughter, and abandons her with the baby, She is forced to have the baby, no abortion, and rape baby Jesus is produced. And so this is why the church is pushing no abortions. This is why they call it demonic and evil and a doctrinally wrong practice. Is because of this altered theology of Joseph Smith in the Book of Mormon. Once you begin to understand this, you begin to understand how the church is abominable and how they are tampering with this election, how they tampered in 2008's election with Prop 8 in California, is because they're imposing their altered religious views upon the rest of the world. And we already know this from the Book of Mormon, even if you turn it into literal history, and from the words of Joseph Smith, even if you turn them literal history. Because Mormons have exclusive doctrine about Lucifer. You don't take away the agency of man. That's Lucifer's plan of happiness. And yet, despite this, the church picks and chooses how to run their theology upon all other people, whether it's because Jesus was produced from incest, or it's Lucifer's plan of happiness. This contradiction of gods creates a conundrum that the church has been able to escape because of the dumbing down of Mormons by turning everything into literal history. So everybody is arguing about the wrong things. The other concept of confusion that has a major role ties into the video last night and will lead into this video. It's about the resurrection. And so different Christian groups have different views of resurrection. You have Jehovah's Witnesses who believe there is no resurrection of the body. We just live with Jesus, Jehovah, God, as a spirit entity. Trinitarian from the first creed of Christianity. But for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, instead of Joseph Smith erected the church, Brigham Young insurrected the church, and then me, spoiler alert, resurrected the church. Except that Mormons don't believe, and so there is no resurrection of the church. No Zion. Good job, Mormons. We're all going to die. Thanks a lot. And so, Danites from Brigham Young, pushing this literal history narrative, now indicates that it's a zombie apocalypse. But there's some conundrums that are never resolved. And this is why the leaders of the church never want to answer any of our doctrinal questions. They don't care to answer doctrinal questions. You have to trust them, or you get excommunicated. And so we're told that, when we're dead, we'll find the answers out. Yeah, you found the answer out, all right. Church isn't true. They didn't save you, but it's too late. You're dead. And so Jesus now is the first one to be resurrected to save all mankind. And so as a kid, I'm already catching on to the problems involved with this. So is it just for our earth? Or does Heavenly Father have to wait for an exalted body before he can have his earth for Jesus to come? And how does he come if Heavenly Father has to wait to be exalted before he can bear Jesus as his spirit son and then send him to earth in a physical body to do all that atonement stuff. That is, again, one of the other changes in this doctrine from the Jews. And so, yeah, I came to the quick, easy conclusion that Heavenly Father was the Christ on his earth. Jesus is the Christ on this earth to resolve that concern. However, we still run into problems, because Jesus Christ is the first resurrection. Adam stuck in spirit prison until Jesus died and is resurrected and opened up the gates and the keys for resurrection. And thus Adam and everybody who died before Jesus are now able to be resurrected. Then we have the problem of good people. You know, we don't hear about it, but because the Book of Mormon is now turned into literal history, the resurrection for the dead carries on till about 430, whatever Bruce R. McConkie put as a date for Moroni, because he appears to Joseph Smith as Willard Richards changed the name to Moroni, as he changed the name of Joseph's church in verse 1. So now Moroni is also resurrected, rather than Nephi being resurrected and visiting Joseph. We don't hear of any Mormon prophets visiting Joseph as resurrected beings, just Moroni for the second vision. And so apparently the first resurrection stopped after 431 BCE. And we assume that they're all resurrected and they're moving on. But that's the other problem, is that once you're resurrected, you have no dealings with this earth anymore. But this church, by turning it into literal history, forces these beings who are finished in this life and have moved on to the next life, they're resurrected, they're ascended, and yet they're still coming back to earth to still do a work that they hadn't finished. This is a contradiction. The whole point of resurrection and ascension is that you've finished your work on earth, you're moving on to the next life. And so then there's the other problem of, if Jesus is the first resurrection, why then are we waiting for the first resurrection with his second coming? So aren't we still in the first resurrection? Because the hymn, Joseph Smith has ascended into heaven, where earth louds his fame. So Joseph Smith is finished, and so therefore Joseph Smith can't come back to earth, as I expose that conundrum that is being passed around in certain circles of Mormon mythology. And so then you have the problems of those who are, resurrection. Because of this, the consequences of the belief in a resurrection, you have the church forbidding cremation so that all mankind can be resurrected. And yet we have as our second coming Jesus, who comes to burn the wicked and thus turning them into ash, cremating the wicked at his second coming. And so that instantly contradicts causes a conundrum for this concept of not cremating the body, as it's in the church's handbook that Nelson's released, that the church discourages cremation because of the resurrection doctrine, just like abortion. The church disapproves of abortion because of rape baby Jesus. You never know. Your child could be Jesus. and so, yeah, this whole, there's just so many problems if people would just stop and think. And this is why the church refuses to answer questions and passes on to the stake president for disciplinary action. Don't question us, just accept it and believe and keep paying your money. So lots and lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of problems, as those who are wicked also have a resurrection. It's the third and final one, whereas the good people who were wicked by not joining the church are after the first resurrection, part 2, in the latter days. So many, many problems when you turn Joseph Smith and the Book of Mormon into Christian. Literal history and all. Many, 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 many problems. So, then we have translated beings, which are not really translated, because translated is a linguistic thing. But transfigured is often referred to for John the Revelator, Moses, and the 3 Nephites, as well as, boom, the city of Enoch. Ta-da! We did it! The city of Enoch is what we get to talk about today. With 3 Nephi chapter 7. City of Enoch is not literal history. It is not going to happen. It's the learning of the Jews. It's prophecy and revelation. It's the Zion of the millennium. But Mormons don't want it. It's not going to happen. We're all going to be burned, cremated by Jesus Christ in the coming day. So, in Battlestar Galactica, for those of you who have never seen it, spoiler alert, they make it to Earth and they find out that the 13th tribe are Cylons. All Cylons. We're Cylons, just to let you know. We're about to nuke ourselves. And then 2,000 years later, Battlestar Galactica will find us and find out that we're Cylons and we nuked ourselves. And that not only that, but those Cylons who find us are us. It may seem confusing, but that's where Caprica is vital to watch first. Gotta know what Zoe was up to so that you can understand it. And so, yeah, it's where the city of Enoch thus returns to Earth only to find it utterly wasted and destroyed. Joseph Smith warns about this, the Book of Mormon warns about this, the Bible warns about this, everybody warns about this. But when you turn things literal history, things get confusing and contradictory. And thus, where the title that I'm expecting to put about the Mormon city of Enoch returns to find the earth utterly destroyed. And so, trying to figure out how to put this in the order. There's a massive storm coming next week. Massive hurricane, and I mean massive. It's already forecasted to just hit the islands in the Caribbean at just before 9 p.m. on the 31st is when it just instantly appears on Venture Sky. And so the 7-day forecasting girls, the weather girls, who are prophetesses and revelatoresses, as they again prove themselves for Helen and Milton in Florida, expect to see them eventually talking about it in the 7-day forecast as the days get closer. And so this is the concept of prophecy and revelation for the Jews, but instead of using weather forecasting for their prophecies multi-thousands of years into the future, they're instead using astronomy, which is an exact timepiece, and thus why they named the celestial bodies and the constellations with the designated stars that they did, and thus are able to tell stories which are actually prophecies with that date as the date for the prophecy that they're talking about. So Joseph Smith translation, Revelation chapter 1 says, "Sign in the heaven in the likeness of things on the earth." Prophecy and revelation, day and hour, the time. And so 2 Nephi chapter 25 verse 1, the Nephi character says he's writing after the manner of Isaiah, which is the manner of prophesying among the Jews. Mormon chapter 8 verse 33, we are then given the definition of revelation. The time will come at that day. That's what that means. It's revelation. So the Book of Mormon contains revelation, days and hours. 1 Nephi chapter 1 verses 8 through 10. That comes from Revelation chapter 12 verses 1, 2, and 5, which came from Isaiah chapter 6 verse 1, and then chapter 7, which 12, 14, somewhere around there. I give unto you a sign, which is in and of itself as a vocabulary word in Paleo-Hebrew script, the day and the hour, as well as many other things. It's the sign that is given in the heavens. It is the shadow cast on the earth because it's the 3 solar eclipses over the United States of America, thus the location on earth. And it's the full 3 names of your Christ, Mormons. He who is from the crossroads of the wagoner of the sun god at noonday. Me. And so, 2017 is the first year of the reign of King Zedekiah. Because it's not literal history, remember? They give you the date at the beginning. 23rd of September 2017 is that date. And so in the first year, a king is put on the throne by a foreign government. We know it's America because of the date. Tying it to Isaiah, which Isaiah gives you the sign spelling in Paleo-Hebrew. Sure enough, the first day of darkness, solar eclipse, was in 2017, a month before, 23rd September 2017. All right there in the first chapter, the first book of the Book of Mormon. And so we are told that there would be a president put on the throne of America in 2017. And he will be put there by a foreign government. That's already established as fact, even though MAGA still refuse to accept it. That nation is Russia. And the Book of Mormon knows that it's going to be Russia. 600 years from the time Lehi left Jerusalem in that first year of the reign of King Zedekiah, king of Judah. This is a brilliant move by the author, who had to rewrite the 116 pages. Because now he's using the literal history of Zedekiah being put on the throne in 597 BCE, which means 600 years later, and this is another contradiction if you're going to turn the Book of Mormon into literal history. When is the birth of Jesus? This is why the church refuses to accept the Book of Mormon as the claim for the birth of Jesus, and instead go to section 20, where they use the typical naming from the calendar of in the year of our Lord. And so therefore we assume that Jesus was born on the 6th of April, 1 CE. No, dumbasses. We're not Christian. We're Jewish. But nonetheless, the Book of Mormon puts it at 4 CE. That's 600 years after 597. No 0 year. And so then you look in your Urim and Thummim in the year 4 CE for a sign in the heavens. And this is where you find 8 April 4 CE, which is the story of Abraham sacrificing Isaac. Brilliant. Just utterly brilliant. So, you have in the story, father sacrificing his son. Sacrifices a solar eclipse. They're at the top of a mountain, Utah, top of the mountain. A messenger appears. Mercury is the messenger of the gods with his trump. Yeah, Trump shows up for Mercury in 2017 in the scales of judgment. Not a coincidence. They know. But the enemy, it gets complicated because the enemy is plotting all of this, but they couldn't plot the actual name of the guy, but then they found the name, and John Ingersoll helped with this. Complicated. Won't go there. And says, well done, thou good and faithful servant. Here's a ram in the thicket, even though they're talking about a lamb while they're going up to Utah. Because remember, it's all about Mormons, according to Joseph Smith. And that's why it's in the Book of Mormon even. And so you have Mercury, a solar eclipse, and a ram-lamb constellation of Aries. Sure enough, 8 April, 4 CE, solar eclipse in Aries with Mercury in conjunction. Ta-da! But we're not done yet, because this isn't literal history. It's not about the Roman period of time, because he already tells us that the first year that they're talking about is 2017. So what's going on here? Well, we had a solar eclipse, the third and final one, on 8 April 2024 CE. Exactly 20 years to the day. So when is the Exodus of Lehi? 2020. Did 2020 demonstrate all of the Exodus story information stuff? Sure did. I got the picture, I've been showing it to you. Waters parted and all. And you missed it. Brilliant mind to use that to show that the Book of Mormon is prophecy and revelation. And it's too bad that Mormons don't believe this. They're still waiting for Jesus to come. And Jesus didn't come when Nelson said he was coming. The Sunday or Saturday after conference. Didn't show. Oops. Maybe it's because you weren't spiritual enough. Maybe you should pay a full tithing, because you can't pay more tithing. The church only wants you to pay the 10%. You can't pay more. It doesn't matter. 10% is all that's required. So if you pay more, okay, fine, but still, 10%. I remember as a kid thinking that, you know, the church tells us that there's all sorts of sins, and so I was thinking that I wasn't good enough as a little kid, newly baptized, with my little piggy bank for Mormons that doesn't allow me to have spending money. To put in more money in tithing to try to atone for the atonement, which is another contradiction having to do with the atonement problems and conundrums. Why are we paying Jesus to atone for Jesus' atonement so that we don't have to pay? I'm confused. And there's also the problem of you have to pay the church in order to be protected from the day of burning, desecration, so that you can be resurrected. So many problems. So many problems. Okay? And so, I told you to pay attention to the stock market, because something is expected to happen when you start seeing the stock market tank. And before the Jewish holy days, which are now over, the stock market was going up. And sure enough, nothing happened. Netanyahu, purposely, during all this time, has been purposely striking Lebanon, who decided to join in on the fight to be the victims against Israel. God. And everybody's falling for this. Unbelievable. But nonetheless, Netanyahu purposely, for this month of holy days, attacked before the holy day began and attacked after the holy day began. And the tabernacles, same thing. He did it right before the Feast of Tabernacles, and again he did it right there at the end of the Feast of Tabernacles. He knows what he's doing. He knows how to protect his people, and his people aren't grateful for this. They're blaming him for not rescuing the hostages that are still being held hostage. God. You blame those who took your family members hostage. You don't blame other people. And so this is where they don't understand. You don't negotiate with terrorists. They're purposely wanting Israel to stop fighting. And we know exactly what's going to happen if Israel were to cave to the terrorist demands. They're going to murder the hostages, and they're going to keep bombing and attacking. The people don't get this. They're letting their emotions dictate government policy. And it's being turned into mob mentality, thanks to the internet and social media. So thus, Bloodbath 2024. And so this week, the stock market's been falling. You can check today again to see what's going to happen. But that's very vital to pay attention to. Because the church is a major, if not the major, stockholder in the stock market. It is the church that is pulling out their money. What are they pulling out their money for? What do they know is coming? Well, Oaks told us exactly what the church is doing. They're in charge of this. They're the masterminds behind everything that's going on around the world. The Little Sister Missionary. In 2020, at the beginning, on the 14th of March, Oaks came to her Las Vegas mission to speak. And it wasn't reported in the church news. And nobody was allowed to record it. And this Little Sister Missionary, church is so true. Oh, your mantle is blinding me, Oaks. Church is so true. I have to record you. And she recorded them. And it took till just the other month, wasn't it? Or was it at the beginning of this month? It wasn't too long ago when a guy who's hot for this returned sister missionary did the video about her leaked information from Oaks's talk that she had recorded, and did his video in connection with what Nelson said over Congress. Yeah, it was this month. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Because Nelson said, Jesus is coming in the coming day. Which is not in the coming days anymore. He said in the coming day, singular. I did the videos. I helped you out. You don't believe. You didn't watch. You'd rather watch Oaks, who turned the Lorenzo Snow BYU video into literal history. Just utterly humiliating for Oaks to have done that. And yet Mormons still stay in the church because they didn't even watch that video, that conference. That don't, just, my hell, Mormons. What's wrong with you? And so Oaks said, what is about to happen in 2020 is a test run for the coming of Jesus Christ. When Jesus Christ comes and cremates the wicked, but not just cremates the wicked, he also overthrows all governments around the whole world, not just the United States. And I don't think Mormons are clicking in this. The church is saying that 2020 is a test run for the second coming of Jesus, who's going to murder people and overthrow governments in a coup. What happened on January 6th, 2021? an attempted coup. Trump refused to concede the election. He tried to overturn it. He's an insurrectionist. And the 14th Amendment, Section 3, says he's not allowed to run for president, let alone be the president, for the rest of January until January 6th. Pence was required by law in the Constitution to take over as acting president until Biden is made president on January 20th. And that never happened. And then we have the incident of the documents case, where Judge Cannon has been exposed as having made a deal with Trump. She was bribed and given promises and protections, and thus she purposely tanked that case. And nobody's stopping her. Nobody's locking her up. Right, Merrick Garland? And so now Trump is saying that he's going to fire the special counsel. Right, sure he's going to fire. Yeah, it's not going to be a live execution on Trump TV. You know, MAGA doesn't fully understand what the Book of Mormon had already prophesies. Book of Mormon already knows exactly what's about to happen. It tells us, and it scares everybody, and is why the Book of Mormon almost got banned in Utah. During that porn incident. And so Oaks, by confessing that he was in charge as a mastermind behind the election fraud and decertification attempt and the coup, the insurrection, to say that it was only a test run, guess what? Guess what that means 2024's election is? Yeah, it's Oaks, it's Nelson, it's this church, the corporate board, who are the masterminds behind this election. And they're calling it Judgment Day, where Americans and the people around the world will be cremated and governments will be couped. I don't understand why people are not crying and screaming and wetting themselves with great fear and trembling to the evil of this church. Because if they're involved in the insurrection for 2020 and 2024 with that simple little sister missionary who did a naughty no-no and recorded Oaks, guess what that means for 2016? Yeah, Russia, Russia, Russia. Remember what I said? That solar eclipses tell you where on Earth they occur? Guess where 8 April 2024's was? And a major city, yet to be determined, in Russia. Now do you understand why I did those videos way back? Oh, you are brand new. You haven't seen that clip? The temple in Russia that Nelson announced his first term in office. Yeah, they were doing business deals with Russia. This is all part of the coup, guys. And our government won't do anything to stop it. This is the scary situation we are in. And so, with Putin allowing Kim Jong-un's army to march through Russia to head to Ukraine, it's all part of the plot. The enemy knows what they're doing. They're putting their chess pieces into position. They already have us in checkmate. They're just taunting and toying with us now, because it's in the coming day. So, now the bigger picture of me that the enemy didn't believe would occur. See, they know the Jews are right about Revelation, because they were using that for coordinating their attack. But they did not believe the prophecies of the Christ. They didn't believe I would come. How could that be? No man can know of a Christ to come in the future. So says the Antichrist of the Book of Mormon. No duh. And so, in February 2017, before I took off to fulfill the prophecy in Revelation of Revelation chapter 12 about the flooding, near the end of the book, or the chapter. That was Elko, Nevada, Family Discovery Day. I went to Elko. Nelson stayed in Salt Lake City. Yep. The signs in the heavens and likeness of things on the earth. The designation of the planets are specific people. And so you have the hero of the story, you have the antagonist, the villain, and then there are certain other characters that are involved, like the President of the United States of America as Mercury, the Trump, which was in Libra. God. Associative memory, the weakness that has been made strength, a strength. Oh God, it's too early. Again, I woke up at 1. But I'm not groggy this morning. My body is adjusting to 3 hours of sleep a night. What the hell? Yep. You get older and you only need 3 hours of sleep a night. I need to get back into drinking tons of Mountain Dew to get regular again. Literally. I drink Mountain Dew and I sleep 5 to 6 hours a night. But this, doing a can a day, dear God, it's killing me. Anyway, but I never have the headaches. And it's weird because there's a psychologist who says, yes, not drinking Mountain Dew causes withdrawal symptoms that will cause you to have insomnia. And a medical doctor says, no, drinking Mountain Dew causes insomnia. That's what caffeine is for. And so, do I trust the medical doctor? Yes. Because there's some other factors that are involved. So, God, seriously, why are psychologists still around? They're responsible for causing the divide and conquer that the church is using. They use fallacy arguments. They are incapable of using logical, sound arguments for anything in their field. Everything that comes out of their mouth is an automatic lie, just like the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And I can't get people to understand this, because the news here in Utah keeps talking about, Mental Health Awareness Week. Oh, a new treatment center after the dozens that were shut down for abusing, holding hostage, and raping They're little kids in their treatment center because the parents couldn't handle them. And I saw Canada News is now facing a dilemma where a whole bunch of people have been misdiagnosed as ADHD by psychologists. You know, it's like Catholics. You know, a priest rapes little boys and people just move on. Continue to send their little boys to be altar boys for their little congregation. What is wrong with people? I don't understand. You scream that children need to be protected from porn and other dangers, and yet you still end up sending your kids to the slaughter. I don't get it. I don't understand what is going on in humans' brains. All right, psychology. So February, the dream, as we've got about 15 minutes before I am forced to skip my run this morning. 2017, I get a dream. And in the dream, I'm in a basement apartment, basement room, and I have 3 suitcases on my bed, and I'm packing them. My dad comes down, stands there at the doorway, and we're having a discussion. And I guess I tell him I'm going on a mission. And so I take the 3 suitcases, go up the stairs, out the door, and I'm at the top of a mountain, Utah. And I'm taking them to a pickup truck, blue pickup truck, just a regular pickup truck, not what do they call it, a 1-ton or whatever. Yeah, it's just a regular pickup truck. It's not a half bed, it's just a regular pickup truck. Don't get complicated. It's not important to the interpretation of the dream. Blue. Because I drove a Toyota pickup truck during high school, and it was a tan, light tan, with no transmission. Thanks a lot, Dad. But anyway, as I'm walking on the dirt gravel road, driveway, I look off to the left. There's a grove of trees. When within a shady woodland, there were 3 missionaries. Maybe 4, but I think 3. Doesn't matter. But it would matter. 3 missionaries. Yeah. Interesting. They were 3 missionaries. 3 suitcases. Huh. It's giving me the date. That's why you look for patterns and numbers. Because when I was locked up after I had the Hinckley dream, I then would have dreams of going into a mailbox and finding a certain number of letters being mailed to me, and also newspapers with a certain number of newspapers in the bundle. And I would learn that that was the number of days when I would then get a letter in the mail. Right on target. Amazing. But anyway, so yeah, it was 3 missionaries. They weren't wearing their suits. It was just the white shirts and the ties, and it was short sleeves. And so they were walking through the forest, bopping them on the head. Little bunny foo-foo, yeah, hopping through the forest, something, bopped them on the head. So should a memory. And I wave to them as they ignore me. And I say, I'm going on a mission too. There was 3 missionaries. Fascinating. I never caught on that the number of missionaries was the symbol repeating of the 3 suitcases for 3 months. And so sure enough, in May, that's when I began collecting the history of the records of the people. That was my mission. And I didn't fully realize the bigger picture of it, but I knew that I was the only one who knew this information, even though 2017, people were finding out the date of 23rd September 2017 from Revelation chapter 12, only verses 1 and 2. Nobody was making the connection to verse 5 being a part of that sign. And so thus nobody else has figured out the rest of the signs in Revelation. Even with the big one here at the end on 8 April 2024 from Revelation 19, 11 and 17. Not a single person still to this day knows and understands that that's the date. Just me. I'm the only one who gave it to you. I gave you exclusive knowledge and information from the Bible, and not a single Christian will even come to my channel to figure it out, to learn of it. Everybody knows 23rd September 2017 is Revelation chapter 12 verses 1 and 2, but then they give up on the rest. It's weird. But yeah, it mostly has to do with them not understanding it, what the event on earth is. Because most of the Christians believe that the man-child is the Antichrist. Dumbasses. And so, yeah, the suitcases got put in the back of the pickup truck and I got in the passenger side vehicle. Because I'm being instructed what to do. I'm not doing it myself. Even though I'm the one who's doing the work, I'm being told through inspiration what to do. Thus the driver, the inspiration. So I'm the passenger. And so all these years, doing all 8K plus videos for you. And, cool. Get to that later. That one also, oh goodness. Have I been talking for that long? Yes. Gotta wrap it up. Or I'm gonna have to continue the recording after I get back from the run. I do need to get running. And so, then I find out on 9/11, as I've been wanting to retire since last year, if you hadn't been following me since then. I don't want to keep doing this to an audience that doesn't believe and wants to murder me, wants to hurt me. And again, last night, I am being threatened and abused with a comment by a person who says I'm mentally retarded and that I need to shut up. And YouTube didn't flag it. They're letting me go on cyber terrorism on my recording, you notice? But they still are attacking me in other ways. And so they will come back and attack me on my recording if I continue to do videos. In case you hadn't guessed, this is it. Unless the church falls and I'm able to do videos to help warn you through this and talk you through it. Because as of this morning when I checked, still nothing by the church. Church hasn't fallen, nobody's dead, so no videos. But Hales, yeah. Perry Pecker Scott, yeah. All signs in the heavens, likeness of things on the earth. And Ballard, yeah. Likewise. Sun shall be darkened, moon turned to blood, stars fall from heaven. All of them. the curse of Joseph Smith. And yet here we are, the latter days are over, the last holy day of the Jews is over, and still nothing? So this is where I'm concerned, that it's utter destruction. And so thus I did the video last night, Doctrine and Covenants, section 101, verse 43, 19 July 1840, that this election there will be a bloodbath, and the enemy will also destroy Utah because of the election, that it's just going to cause a complete, utter chaos. And there are already people who are murdering for this election, not just trying to cheat and steal the election, or claims of election fraud going on from MAGA camp. It's already in the process, it's already being done. And so on 9/11, at 3 in the morning, not 1 in the morning, 3 in the morning, I wake up to a dream in which Irene was wanting to lay his hands upon my head. And you need to understand the context, because I finally figured it out with the number 15 repeated 2 times, the number 15. And I went, oh, that's how I did that video that morning. It has to do with the Exodus to Zion. And since Mormons have missed it, we are now going to have utter destruction. And so Mulek leaves Jerusalem with the destruction. That's what we're looking at now. You didn't go with Lehi. And so now we're waiting for destruction, which will cause the fall of the church. And so I went over and did all that video. Watch that video for that explanation. So now, 3rd Nephi, chapter 7. And I think I probably should cover this when I get back, because there will need to be some explanation. Okay? So, hasta la vista. I'll be back. Terminator. Perfect. Alright, I'm back. So, 3rd Nephi chapter 7. This is in the context of 19 July 1840, given by Joseph Smith. Brigham Young refused to publish, because he calls out Brigham Young as the enemy, the secret combination, who's plotting to overthrow the government. The secret combination. And he was expanding upon section 101's parable given in starting at verse 43. So verse 51 is where he's expanding upon, as the train kept rolling all night long. Love that song. And so here we have the Book of Mormon, which is where Joseph Smith gets this from. Section 101's parable, 3rd Nephi, chapter 7. Also, section 103, starting in verse 15, about the redemption of Zion. That's also in here. The need to rescue Mormons from the great and abominable church, lead them to Zion, as there's going to be disbelievers, and thus utter destruction comes. Cremation. To deny resurrection. And understand that our government is letting this happen. Biden knew what he was put into office for, to overturn everything that Trump had done to destroy America, to destroy the Constitution. And he failed, plain and simple. Under Biden's administration, Roe v. Wade was overturned. Under Biden's term in office, the border became a crisis. Under Biden's term in office, January 6th failed to be prosecuted. Under Biden's term in office, etc., etc., etc. All of these happened during Biden. And Biden didn't do his job as president. He failed. And so now Kamala Harris is vice president, but she too is following in the same pattern as Biden. She's using Biden's failures as an extortion threat to get people to vote for her. Plus she's got Beyonce and Taylor Swift and others, Obama, who are all campaigning for her and promoting her and encouraging her. But we shouldn't be placed in this situation as citizens. The 14th Amendment, Section 3. Nobody involved in an insurrection against the United States of America is allowed in office. And they cannot run for office. That's very plain and precious. And yet here we are. Those involved in leadership, in government office. Oh, I did get attacked. What do you know? My little quick tour of the internet before I started the video is what I got spotted for. So those who were involved in the coup in government office are back. They're still around. And again, threatening a coup. They're actively involved in preparing for the coup. They're already involved in committing the coup. And still, Biden is not doing his job. Merrick Garland is not doing his job. And so all of these late prosecutions of Trump, which are now being postponed until after the election, yeah, this is all part of the coup. When you look back on history, you'll go, oh yeah, Travis was right. We should have listened to him. And I told you, they have backups upon backups. They've got it all set up. All their people are in position. They're ready to go. Oaks said 2020 was a test run to see what they needed to do to make sure it happens this year. And they now know. And so Oaks wrote, and the Heritage Foundation guy took it from him and claimed it's him to distance himself from the church. They are connected through the Council for National Policy. It is the secret combination of the United States of America. Steve Bannon, Leonard Leo, who was hooking up the Supreme Court justices to be bribed with billionaires. Steve Bannon, in case you've forgotten or you didn't know, he was not Breitbart. He did Breitbart, but he was Cambridge Analytica that used the psychological questionnaires on Facebook ads. You know, which Disney princess are you? That was the one I did, purposely knowing that it was a manipulation, because they have you answer a question with only 4 options for an answer. This is the psychological manipulation. They purposely tell you what to think, how to feel, what to believe, what to do. Just like a fortune teller. They purposely tell you what to do and what to believe and what to think. And they're able to read your facial expressions to see which direction they know you'll agree with. And then thank you for your money. So it's all just a scam. Any business that requires human beings for their income is a scam. And so if you look at the shelters here in Utah, Gail Miller, yeah, it's a whole criminal laundering money operation that the church is involved with these shelters. They are a private corporation running them. And as a private corporation, they need to make a profit. They can't make a profit if they get all the homeless into homes. In order to maintain the shelters, they have to fill the shelters so that they can request government money to pay their paychecks, to make a profit for their corporation. And so it even helps to say, oh no, there's too much homeless. We need more funding. We need emergency code blue for the wintertime so that we can store these beyond the fire regulations for building codes. And the government gives it to them. And it doesn't go to the homeless. The homeless are never getting helped into homes. The corporation, run and led by Gail Miller, is the ones profiting off of this. Profiting off of the homeless. That's why it's human trafficking. And so likewise, psychologists, they are not bound by medical doctors' Hippocratic oath. And so they can do harm. And they're a corporation. They need humans in order to make their living. And so like Canada has now realized that all of these psychologists are misdiagnosing people with ADHD. And here in Utah, I mean, dear God, despite the blatant news coverage of this, the news is still covering for faith promotion about new treatment centers being built and Suicide Awareness Month and all this stuff, clueless of the connections that they themselves are exposing to the public. That psychologists are a fraud. There's nothing good, there's nothing true about them. They have to have clients in order to make money and to continue to get government funding. And so thus, instead of helping people process back into the community, they say, oh, this can never be cured. They're going to be mentally retarded for the rest of their life. And we're the only ones who can help them. It's a big scam. And so yes, that teenage boy who was being held hostage in a teen treatment center, being abused, being tortured, yeah, he gets it. His parents didn't like him, gave up on him, dumped him off in this treatment center. You know, my parents wanted to do that to me, but I was over 18. I've known other people who likewise were 17, about to turn 18, and were framed and blamed by their older sister with marijuana brownies. So the parents thought they were possessed by the devil, called the bishop over. Bishop said, well, we don't actually believe in anything the church teaches, so send them to a psycho. And they wrongfully diagnosed them. And they were 17 years old. And so away she went for life into the Utah treatment centers to be drugged. And now that she's been drugged, she now goes through withdrawal symptoms when it's time to take more drugs, or if she wants to get off of them. Let the power of Jesus heal her. And that's when she freaks out. And then the psychologists say, see, you need to take your drugs. You're mentally retarded. We're the only ones who can help you. You got to trust us. You got to keep taking your drugs, in which you're shortening your lifespan. And so, yes, Utah is the highest per capita of women, Mormon women, who are taking antidepressant drugs. And the news just earlier this year came out and said, yeah, antidepressants shorten lifespan. All pharmaceutical drugs shorten lifespan, as they also cause side effects that are harmful to the body, requiring you to take more drugs from the pharmaceutical companies so that they can make money. Remember, no Hippocratic oath for them either. They require people to take their drugs in order to make the multi-billions of dollars they are making. That's why they're called Big Pharma. And yet they're doing human experimentations, exactly what the Nazis did to the Jews in World War II. But the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is leading the nation with over 100 teen treatment centers, and thus even more adult treatment centers. And it's all hitting the fan as they're getting locked up in prison. The business is being shut down, and rapes and all sorts of other criminal activities ensue, all by Mormons who get taught by BYU. It's extremely sad that these little girls who are victims of abuse and rape go into psychology to try to understand the psyche of a man, because they're not given proper sex ed. And thus they become bullies and abusers of the men who didn't rape them. They're taking it out on other guys. And I've seen that with MAGA. MAGA women do the same thing to MAGA men. Or those who are not MAGA men, especially. And you know who they are. You know, the country girl. The one who, the ranch girl. Yeah, she's a tough girl. Don't mess with her. She'll beat you up. That's what happens. A girl is no longer nice and sweet. She's rough and tough. You don't want to mess with her. This is the damage that is done by psychology. And it's spread throughout the whole nation, not just the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. This is what happens when you lie to people, use fallacy arguments. And that was the first creed of Christianity. Created Jesus, who does not exist. A musion. Constantine made up the word, and so therefore, as a made-up word, it is not real, and therefore the meaning is not real. And over 4 billion people in the world today fell for this con, but still believe it. As next year's 1700th anniversary of the first creed that created Christianity and created Jesus as not real. And that's what you need to understand when you're going through the scriptures. You must remove all of the first creed from your mind. I mean, how many more times do I have to put the creed in the videos for you? You're still unaware of how to use Google search. Wikipedia, Nicene Creed. It shows you the Greek, it shows you the English. Consubstantial, that's a musion. Without substance. And so everybody knows it, and yet spiritual witness feelings ensued. Creatio ex nihilo. And so the Book of Mormon uses Jesus in the Jewish learning, not the Christian. And this is where Mormons get blindsided. It's a stumbling block. That's what Nephi is being told in the story of his first vision, or a Tree of Life vision, about the great and abominable church. Takes away the plain and precious truths of the Bible. And thus Brigham Young did it to the Book of Mormon in Joseph Smith's words. It was all right there for Mormons to realize the truth, and yet they don't see it, they don't hear it, They don't speak it. And so this church is the enemy. And Oakes confessed to the little sister missionary who recorded him. So it's an established fact. I'd already established it as fact through study and research, doing all these videos for you. That's how you do it. I demonstrated it for you to warn you. And so I already concluded that the church was behind it all. And they were pissed that I had found out. They tried to murder me. That's why I'm here. Those who've been following know exactly what I'm talking about. They know. They know the truth about what the church has done to me. And the further you go back in time, the less and less people there are who've been following me. And so it's frustrating that YouTube still is silencing my videos when I should be getting more popular amounts of views, as conferences always demonstrate. People are always looking for church stuff, and for only conference time for the YouTube employee to back off because he's on vacation smearing poop on the Capitol walls is a very telling thing. That YouTube, if treating me equally, I'd have those views daily, and thus conference times would even be higher than what they were, as this October conference was the third highest. April conference was the second highest. Or was it last April conference? Because since getting put into Gail Miller's concentration camp of hell of human trafficking in 2022, my views began to pick up with the long shutdown that I've had. And most of it was because YouTube had attacked this channel and banned me from posting videos, denying me my religious freedom, my freedom of speech, etc., doing hate crimes against me, cyber terrorism. And so I was on TWG, yeah, they thought they had gotten rid of me, and it was clear that it was a West Valley City attack. But nonetheless, let's get back to your lives. Enough of my life. So this is the context. I already been telling you about 3 Nephi chapter 7. That's why the pictures that I use, the countdown that I had in yesterday's videos, I think I put them in both, didn't I? I've had that for quite a while now. It was back when it was over 100. And so I have the template, and so I know how many days left there are, and just changed the template, put it in a PDF, and then changed it to a picture so that you can have it in the video, because I knew that it would need to be repeated frequently, as well as I have the one about the picture of Trump with Kamala Harris, which is the same type of thing, just a different presentation of it. We are not supposed to have a debate as to whether we, the people, get to choose between communism or fascism to run our government. And yet, here we are. Nobody's following the Constitution. The Constitution is on the brink of ruin. It is only being used in name only. People claim that the Constitution is the supreme law of the land, but they don't say it, as Article 6 does. And instead, they are pushing in the news that democracy is on the line. Find democracy in the Constitution. You won't. It specifically says not to have a democracy form of government. This is how far off Americans are from an understanding of the Constitution. The enemy has done this to us, that we can no longer comprehend and understand what we read if we were to ever read it. Just like Mormons, who are incapable of understanding and comprehending what they read in the Book of Mormon. And so they learn about Heavenly Father raping Mary, his 14-year-old daughter, and abandoning her with the baby that she has to have because abortion is evil, or she'll get cremated, because rape baby Jesus. And so all 14-year-old daughters have to be raped in similitude of the Mother Mary. And not a single Mormon catches on to this abomination. Exvo Nevermos will blame Joseph and give Brigham Young a pass. Though they really don't, but you diminish Brigham Young's involvement. It's not enough to say that Brigham Young is a continuation. Brigham Young's not a continuation of Joseph Smith. That's where you got fooled by Brigham Young. Brigham Young is not Joseph Smith. Not the same religion. Not the same ideology. Completely night and day different. And for Brigham Young to have fooled 17 million currently, yeah, that says a lot. It's nowhere near the 4 billion of Constantine. But he's had more decades, centuries to work on it. All psychological manipulation. This is how evil psychology is. And the church is using it in full force. Because it works so well to lie to people and convince them. The Book of Mormon teaches you about this. The Antichrist. How they're able to fool people. That's psychology that they're using on you. And you don't catch it. And so here we are. Election year. 3rd Nephi chapter 7. Secret combination has taken over the Nephites. The Lamanites are still at war with them, but after Captain Moroni, Pehornon didn't listen to me. That's the sad reality. Book of Mormon warned what needed to be done by Biden, and Biden didn't do it. And so here we are. This is the consequences of Biden failing to do his job. And it's not necessary that it will be him, because he quit. Come January 20th, he's out. And this is where they're plotting and scheming to not let Harris win, to keep her out. And so they've got the financial budget December 20th. If they can't cause the overthrow of the federal government before then. Because December 20th, if Harris wins or if it's still undecided, they just simply shut down the government to help reinforce Trump winning. And thus, January 6th is another backup. They've got to keep Harris from January 6th. And so she could be the one who's assassinated. if she has won the election. If there is no decision among the states yet, we can't have January 6th. So that's the first wave. The states are to purposely prevent a decision if it's Harris, so that it gets tied up in the courts, so that January 6th comes and goes and still no decision. That January 20th comes and goes and still no decision. And these other backups are in place to help reinforce that, to make sure January 6th doesn't happen and that January 20th doesn't happen. So that on January 20th, if there still is no decision as to who won, the Speaker of the House becomes the President of the United States of America. And he's MAGA. And we all know they're going to put Trump in as president. Ta-da! And so, the Book of Mormon says he will not become president, despite Oaks planning to make him president. He will not become president. So we'll see. This is their plan that Joseph Smith learned about. And it's not Joseph Smith Jr. It's Senior William Morgan, if you remember yesterday's video, or any other videos where I've talked about it in the 8K plus. So now behold, I will show unto you that they did not establish a king over the land. No presidential candidate will win. Already we see this happening. But in this same year, 2020 was the test run. This was supposed to be 2020. But Oaks decided to make 2020 the test run for 2024. But this is interesting, and those of you who have been following me will catch it. Yea, the 13th year. This is the 13th year from the first year of Jesus. Not the reign of the judges. That's a much later date. They began renumbering their calendar system with the coming of Jesus. And so no longer using the Mosiah change from monarchy to the reign of judges dating. And so it's not the 33rd year, is it? It's not Jesus. Nobody catches this. And so when you look at the Book of Mormon at the beginning, there's the problem of literal history. 597 BCE is when Zedekiah was put on the throne by Babylon. Russia. I know it's Iraq. I just explained this. And so 586 on 9th Ave was when Babylon came back and utterly destroyed Jerusalem. This is the context for the Book of Mormon warning to us. Utter destruction. The first year is 2017. This 13th year is this year. It's 11 years for literal history, Babylon conquering Jerusalem. And so Nephi, not being born until 23rd of September, 597 BCE, cannot be older then 10 years, in fact maybe even 9 years, because it's before his birthday, going back to Jerusalem to get the plates of brass. A 9-year-old boy is able to impersonate Laban to get the plates from Zoram and be able to lift a massively heavy sword and smite off Laban's head. Yeah, I'm sure it's all literal history. Trust in the Lord, Travis. Just pray to get the right feeling. Feel good about it. Have faith. You'll find out when you're dead. And so, yes, it's not literal history. And so they're repeating the story for the prophecy. And they're using the number 13 here. Number 13, anybody know of the Knights Templar? You should, because Joseph Smith Sr. was a York Rites Master Mason in Canandaigua, New York, with William Morgan. That highest rank in the York Rites is the Knights Templar. So Joseph Smith Sr. knows all about the lore of the Knights Templar. And so there you see the last and final year of cremation, Jesus Christ's second cremation, using the number symbolism of the Knights Templar on Friday the 13th. And good for you if you know that it's Thursday the 13th. Not important. The enemy purposely has been using Friday the 13th. Made for a great movie series. He's back, the man behind the mask. That's Halloween though, isn't it? No, that's Friday the 13th. He wears the hockey. Well, oh my God. Am I going to have to take an hour to go over all of the different horror genres? No. So I'm not going to worry about it. I know you know the answer and you're screaming, Travis, it's this. And he would only kill the slutty women. And of course the token black guy would be killed first. This is not another teen movie. Okay, so anyway, this is what they're talking about. Friday the 13th, the Pope, in connection with the one king, I think it was Spain or Portugal, doesn't matter. It's not important for this story. Plotted to round up and execute, Spanish Inquisition, the Knights Templar. They were able to get a few guys. They got the leader. I think they burned him at the stake. Burned. And so here you see the murder of the chief judge of the land, the leader of the Knights Templar, on Friday the 13th. They did destroy upon the judgment seat. Yea, did murder the chief judge of the land. And the whole Knights Templar imagery is here. Friday the 13th, the leader of the Knights Templar burned, murdered. This is Joseph Smith Sr.'s input here. You need to know this. You need to understand this is real. This isn't a WWE match. People will die. There will be cremation. There will be a purge. These people are anarchists. They want bloodshed. They want chaos. There is no reasoning with them. If you lock them up, it'll just aggravate them more to get worse when they get released. All those who were locked up from January 6th, yeah, the reports are coming out. They think they're the victims, and they want revenge. I wonder when they're going to be getting out. Many of the original orchestrators are already out, if they weren't pardoned by Trump. They're already working with Trump. Why is it that I'm the only one that sees the danger? So the people were divided one against another. Psychology. It's from the art of war. In order to save your people's lives, you infiltrate with spies into the enemy's cities. And they live as the enemy, as one of them. That the enemy has no clue that the enemy is in their midst. They're one of them. They grew up with them. They went to PTA meetings. They went to church. They paid their tithing. We have spies in the church too. And yet Putin can't get a Russian in the apostleship. Because that would be the best way to obtain the secret combination playbook. Putin. China now knows. Saudi Arabia now knows. Brazil now knows. Germany, just turned fascist this year, now knows. And yet Russia, being left out. I warned you guys. You don't listen to me. You think you gotta steal my Paleo-Hebrew research to try to figure out if the Russian alphabet is exactly the same like Paleo-Hebrew, and I told you how to run the test. I told you I would give you the answer, that the one character is the Cairo of Constantine, and you don't want to believe, you want to steal it. Just give it to you for free. Dear God, just ask. But they're born and raised to steal, to cheat, to lie, to use honeypots, to compromise people into criminal operations. Just like the church does to Mormons. Should I bring it up? It's here at the end of the video and only Idaho Chick is listening. And I've already told you, if you got my email. I still wonder if you get my comments or my emails. So which temple did you prostitute your wife at? Is your wife sex trafficked? At BYU or Rick's? Dear God, guys. How could you miss this? Right, you're born and raised in the covenant, and so you don't understand what a crime is, because you were born and raised to commit crimes. And that's what's sad about the one woman who finally left the church, who did a video in which she said as 5 years old she was sexually abused. And because it was 5 years old, she didn't realize it was wrong. I cry. But this is how it is with all of us. We are born and raised into criminal activity, into corruption, into lies, into deception. We all get taught to be liars, deceivers, criminals. And we don't see it as that because this is the way it always is. It's not the new normal, it's the normal. And so we then teach it to our children and their children and so on and so forth. Only those who violate the church's orders and watch R-rated movies to learn about corruption go, wait a minute, that's the exact same pattern match with what, well, that's interesting. The FLDS church, doing the exact same thing that our church does, is getting busted for criminal activity. But it's their religious freedom, isn't it? Well, they are the apostate, anti-Mormon, anti-Christ quarrelers. So yeah, I guess it's okay to punish them as... This is how Mormons think. They don't make the connection. So, this is the division. The spies are put in, and then they're one of them, and then they start promoting ideas into people's heads. It's okay to challenge the leaders. You know, this is violating our rights. We need religious freedom to overthrow the First Amendment, which has religious freedom in it. We need to bully and threaten other people as our freedom of speech. They can't take away our freedom of speech to bully and threaten other people to murder them. And thus the Constitution gets overthrown. They've been working on it for 200 years. And now we are divided against each other into two main camps, MAGA and Islam. Even though, yes, she threw out an Islamic pro-Palestinian terrorist protester. And he's all playing the victim card. Get the hell out of America. Go back and seriously, pissing me off that nobody's catching on to the war against Israel. You know, you got these doctors in the news lately. Oh, we're sacrificing our lives to save the lives of Palestinians. You mean terrorists? Call them for what they are. Nobody will call Palestinians as terrorists. Everybody's attacking Israel. It's just sick and wrong. And so now our government is now going to pay the terrorists over $100 million, paying terrorists. It's not an aid package. You're giving aid and comfort to terrorism. And they're doing that because it's right before the election. Harris needs the Islamic vote. They're concerned about Michigan. God, piss me off. You know, all you have to do is round them up and charge them with a federal felony, and then they can't vote. Then you don't have to worry about them. Real simple. Except I think Florida, didn't they overturn that? Or was that not resolved? And so thus, they did separate one from another into tribes. This is the United States of America. We don't divide into tribes. It is two tribes, but they're referring to states here in prophecy. See, in the Book of Mormon, they are tribal cities. You just consider those tribal cities as states. It'd be interesting to count up the number of cities and see if it is 50. Just saying. Just saying. You know, the city of Lehigh, you know, that's Texas. Down in the south. Book of Mormon geography. Yes. Take that, Mormon apologists. Hilarious. And so, yes, we've already heard this after 2020. They were pissed that Biden won, or pretending to be pissed. Again, Oak said this is a test run, purposely causing Trump to lose. In order to destroy the government. That's what he confessed. It's gold for a prosecutor. Your Honor, we have a recorded statement of confession by the defendant. And it wasn't us coercing him by torture. It's gold. It's a game, set, match. This is where Oaks would be trying to have a plea deal rather than be sentenced to prison. And yet, as a former prosecutor, he's getting away with it. And so, this is the division of states. We've already seen that. Marjorie Taylor Greene, national divorce, all that stuff. Texas doing their own thing. Kicking out the FBI. Kicking out the federal government. They're going to do things their way in Texas. And those boots were made for walking. Whose boots have those boots been under? Whose bed have your boots been under? And so, yes, other states have followed suit after Texas, getting encouragement to rise up and be sovereign states, seceding from the nation. It's already in spirit. And so this is another backup. That if Harris still is able to pull it off, the MAGA states will say, we're out. We secede from the nation. Bleep you, Congress, we do not accept your authority to tell us that we can secede from the nation. It's a civil war. Another backup plan. It's already there. It's already in their minds as an option. But it's a backup plan. So that even if Harris makes it to January 6th and makes it to January 20th, MAGA will divide this nation. She is not our president. And Utah will follow in. Say, nope, sorry. And then Cox, if he's allowed to run, there's still a debate on that. Lyman's still pushing to get him off the ballot. I think he failed. Lyman taint. He's the president's choice. Can't go against Nelson, Lyman. Tim Ballard learned that the hard way. And so, yeah, Cox will hand over the government to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And Zion will be established. while the rest of the nation is fighting because MAGA states are going to be enforcing Project 2025, just like Utah will be. That's already Utah's law. It's in the handbook already. We've already had it. We've already been using Project 2025 here in Utah. So it's the rest of the nation that are wanting to implement it and enforce it on all of America. And so all of the MAGA states will do their own thing, but in the context of Project 2025. And so those who don't want to live according to their law will have to flee their state. Those here in Utah who are sensitive, snowflake, apostate, anti-Mormon, antichrist, core whores will have to flee for your life. This is the war. This is the enemy coming as a thief in the night to Utah. When Governor Cox hands over the keys of authority to Nelson, wait a minute, Cox is Lucifer? The way to perfection. Hello? Cha-ching. Hilarious. See, the devil never supports his own. You know, he's got Cox in his right pocket, wrapped around his finger, whatever analogy you want to use. And yet, in the end, he's still calling Cox Lucifer. If Biden won't do it, if Harris won't do it, if Trump won't do it, Cox will do it. And this is what they're plotting for. Governor Cox will hand over the keys of government to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And then once in power, then you've got Arizona, Nevada, Colorado, Idaho, Wyoming, that the church will then try to get the keys of government from them and begin to branch out and say, hey, join us, MAGA. And then you get MAGAs who say, okay, yeah, we'll join you. Great. And then Nelson, Oaks, whoever, becomes the president of the church and the government as they begin to spread around the world. And all of these compromised nations that have been in the church news, Sierra Leone was the latest one from last night, or the night before. I purposely ignored it and didn't cover it in the news. Because everybody should know by now what that means. Sierra Leone is now compromised to the church. And so, once this all hits the fan, the economy will collapse, stock market will collapse, other governments, other economies will all collapse, descend into chaos. And there'll be nobody to bail them out because America has fallen. Then Putin and Xi and Un and Saudi Arabia, Salman, and others will begin the war around the world. The fall of America will trigger World War III. Civil War II triggers World War III. And so America is divided into states. No more federal government. If you're an elderly person receiving Social Security, sorry, ain't gonna get it. And so it'll be up to the state of Utah, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Hope you're all paid up on your tithing. But I receive Social Security. We're not supposed to use that for tithing. Exactly. It's a trap. Church hates everybody. There will be a purge in Utah, just like in all the other states. This will be during the winter time, where Operation Code Blue will be in effect, where all the homeless will be forced into the shelters, where they'll be executed. It's coming. It's going to get ugly. And so, thus, they did destroy the government of the land. Alright, and all this was done, they did yield themselves unto the power of Satan. And the regulations of the government were destroyed because of the secret combination of the friends and kindreds of those who murdered Joseph and Hiram. The Illuminati. They became the Danites in this church to coup it, and the others, after 9/11, 1826, went down to the south to be the Confederates. And then over the years, decades, they then began to branch out, infiltrate, rise up in rank, rise up in authority, and then coup, and so on over the years. That's what they do. So, then we have Trump again, who instead of being called Pharaoh, or Nebuchadnezzar, or Zedekiah, or Herod, he's now being called Jacob, usurper. And he's the leader of MAGA. He's the fulfillment of Revelation 13. The church set it up for him to be the fulfillment of Revelation 13. When he came to Welfare Square, he then went out and said, when you go to the grocery store, you need an ID. Picture ID. Where do you think he got that from? Everybody else in the news thought he was crazy and has dementia. No. He knows exactly what he's saying. It's just that they're purposely deceiving you. To have you thinking about other things, to get stressed and afraid and angry, so that you don't see what is blatantly right in front of you. It's the divide and conquer tactic. And so, MAGA makes Trump their king. Leader is assassinated, no federal government anymore. States are divided as to Deep State Dem and MAGA. And the MAGA states place Trump as their king. And Utah will have Nelson or Oaks, or whoever is the president, as their king. And so as the church works behind Trump's back to include Arizona, Texas, Nevada, or not Texas, Nevada, Wyoming, Colorado, Idaho, to join in, we see what's going to happen to Trump. It came to pass that were not so many in number as the tribes of the people who were united together, save it were their leaders did entered in a covenant to destroy the government. Therefore, Trump, seeing that their enemies were more numerous than they, because Harris is going to win by a landslide if it were to be a free and fair election. It's blatantly obvious. The damage that Trump has done, MAGA has done, has made Americans rush out, with last number I heard, over 30 million already voting. Their ballot is in. Early voting has already begun, and over 30 million have done it. It's a record number. So yeah, people are pissed with Trump. He commanded his people that they should take their flight into the northernmost part of the land, and there build up unto themselves a kingdom. And he's in Florida. They're going to do it in Florida. But it would have to be after the hurricane. But Russia is north. They can flee to Russia. He'll take them. It's already nuked for them. Nobody talks about that. Putin nuked Russia with the 2 failed missile tests. I remember watching MSNBC because Rachel Maddow showed the satellite maps of the radiation plumes and how it was going into the countries below Russia from where it failed. And it was the 2 locations, the north and south. They veered off, exploded, and leaked the radiation. And yeah, it covered all of Russia, went all the way to the Pacific Ocean. Just devastating. But anyway, and there they were joined by dissenters. And so, yeah, those who want to stick with Trump and his MAGA kingdom, they'll gather together. And so this may be a result of the red states forming a separate, so that it becomes every state, but then Trump tries to unify the MAGA states together. And I don't see it being the north, I see it being the south, but nonetheless. And the Democrats either have Harris or the federal government is dissolved like it says it is, and they're all their separate states running it by their governors. And they're unwilling to unite under Harris if she's not the one who gets assassinated. And so they become sufficiently strong to contend with the tribes of the people. So yeah, it's where they unite to take out each Democrat state one by one. That's what I see happening here. And so thus ended this year. So it's going to be done before January 6th. That's the plan. But like I said, they have backup plans in case this fails. And so it could also be the Jewish calendar, which we then have until next September or whatever, when the new year is. So pay attention to that. So either way it works for the Book of Mormon to be proven true. And so the Democrat states make an agreement that they would not go to war with each other. They're going to remain separate states as Democrat states, have their own governor as their leader, but they're not going to go to war with another. But they did unite as to their laws and manner of government. But they're not forming a United States. But they want their particular laws, so DEI laws, segregation policy, separate but equal, and have democracy, which is communism. Dear God. For they're established according to the minds of those who were their chiefs and leaders. But they did not establish very strict laws that one tribe should not trespass against another. But they did establish very strict laws that, yeah, and so they want interstate communications and trade, that kind of thing. They don't want to be against each other. They want to be united as Democrats. But let's see, insomuch that in some degree they had peace in the land as Trump flees and establishes his land. even though Trump flees, I guess is working on building up to war against them. But it doesn't happen here. It's simultaneously going on. It's unclear as to how fast it will take. So, and it came to pass that Nephi, having been visited by angels, dreams, that's me, and also the voice of the Lord, therefore having seen angels, being an eyewitness, and having had power given unto him, that he might know concerning the ministry of Christ. He's the Christ, that's his new name. And also be an eyewitness to their quick return from righteousness unto wickedness and abomination. Mormons, therefore being grieved, testified boldly. I have to keep doing videos. My mission's over. YouTube is centered in California, in San Francisco. It's a Democrat state. It is not MAGA Utah state. YouTube will be banned in Utah. How am I going to communicate to you guys? Tell me. How? The Mormon employee working in Utah for YouTube, for the church, will be fired. How? And so, yes, all of them cannot be spoken in this video. Part of them will not suffice. Therefore, they are not written in this book, but journal vlogs. And it came to pass the Mormons are still angry with me. Oh, crap. Even because he had greater power than they. For it were not possible that they could disbelieve his words. Yeah. Hello? Rape baby Jesus. Seriously? Will liken the word unto a seed, and so the fruit is a spiritual witness feeling rather than the physical results. You have to call me mentally retarded and to shut up because you can't disbelieve my words. Why does the Book of Mormon have to be so true? And in the name of Jesus. Not Christian. He did cast out Nelson in his Quorum of the 12. And even his brother did he raise from the dead. That's where Nelson is right now, in Gemini. He's in the resurrected brother, or the brother who did the resurrecting of his other brother, if you know the myth of Gemini. Prophecy, there it is, Gemini. Oh my God, Senior is awesome. Too big. Yeah, I have them frozen, and then they get passed down into the refrigerator to keep the cycle going. And this batch hadn't fully melted before getting to it. I've been using a lot more water this month. Fascinating. After he had been stoned and suffered death by Mormons. Zombie apocalypse brother. And it's not Todd. Todd's already on my bad list. He attacked me on my birthday last year, the dumbass. I don't care if the church threatened you. It meant the church isn't true, Todd. Dumbass. blatantly obvious that the church was committing a crime to have you commit the crime for them against me, and you fell for it. And you lost $2,000 to the lawyer, and the church didn't compensate you, did they? Devil never supports his own, Todd. You'd know that if you'd watch R-rated movies. And the people saw it and did witness of it and were angry with him because of his power. And he did so many miracles. I mean, seriously, I'm even astounded at how much I've demonstrated for you. Prophet, seer, revelator, translator. I mean, dear God, keys of Moses. And you still are angry with me. And here I am, angry with you, because you won't believe. And so the 31st year did pass away. Pay attention, there's the Scottish rites. Because we had 13th, now all of a sudden we're at 31st. And then verse 23, 32nd year passed away. And then, boom, we're going to get to the 33rd year, aren't we? Is this 8? Is this it? 33rd year had passed away. Yep, bingo. Bingo. The honorary title of the Scottish Rites Illuminati. And the fall of the great and abominable church. So the 13th year, the enemy attacks. 33rd, for the highest rank of the Scottish Rites. Boom, the fall of the great and abominable church. And the destruction and the 3 days of darkness, which is all the same year, guys. It happened this year, 8 April 2024. And so we then skip to chapter 11, after the fall, and the utter destruction. That's the utter destruction. They use the nature as the utter destruction, but this is also the warfare. It's symbolic pattern prophecy. So Captain Moroni can also be put in here. The wars against the Lamanites can be put into chapters 8 through 10. And it's chapters 8, or verses 8 through 10, that gives you the date of the first year of the latter days, 23rd September 2017. 1 Nephi chapter 1, 8 through 10. 8 through 10 is that destruction period. See the patterns that are going on here? And so, after the war, or during the war, from 19 July 1840, section 101, verse 43, section 103, 15 to whatever number, which the church purposely botched it by saying it's Joseph Smith in the latter days, resurrected from the grave, to hide the Jewish Christ from you. Because it can't obviously be Jesus. Sorry, David. It's not Jesus, David. Remember when I was doing the footnotes, David came walking in when we were going to do Deuteronomy 18, and he said, it's Jesus. No, it's not, David. I had already done that. It was correct. Leave it alone. And chaos ensued. And so, this is after the Exodus. That all of these other scriptures that I did yesterday for you we're talking about. So we'll be gathered together. A man like Moses has the keys of the gathering of the Mormons to Zion, of the Mormons, people of Nephi, of the Lamb. Me. New name, Nephi. Me. those who follow me, who gathered to Zion. Right here. Round about the temple, which will be a tent, just like Moses in the Exodus, which is in the land bountiful, Zion. Not where Nelson lives, not that temple, but you notice the picture? I keep trying to put it in videos for you so that you can get a clue. Hey, wait a minute, that's the bountiful temple. Hey, that's Travis. He's wearing the Egyptian tie with the Heliopolis creation glyph, which is Yah in Paleo-Hebrew. And Ishmael is the name of Yah, is the sun god. Trying to help you out, just like the Book of Mormon is. And so everybody's marveling and wondering, showing the great marvelous change that had taken place. And they were conversing about Jesus Christ. My God, guys, I gathered you on purpose, and you're still talking about Jesus, of whom the sign had been given on 8 April 2024 concerning his death, the death sign, Revelation 19, 11, and 17, with the parts about the Lamb, who's in Aries. Remember Abraham sacrificing Isaac? And so then they heard the still small voice. You guys are going, what is that? I don't see voice in this text. Nope. I don't see it. It's not there. It's a still small feeling. Dumbasses. Your feelings are based on how you interpret the physical reality. And so if you believe some dumbass who's lying to you, you're going to feel good about it. And so you're going to feel good about the lies. So thus when the church tells you that the Book of Mormon is another testament of Jesus Christ, pray to get the right feeling. So yeah, you now pray, and if you get the wrong feeling, you have to keep praying until you get the right feeling, that it's another testament of Jesus Christ. And thus how Mormons get conned. Psychological manipulation 101. Everybody gets taught it at BYU in their courses. They don't realize it because the church taught it to you, and so you don't see it as a crime from your childhood. And so yeah, then Jesus comes, and then it's hilarious when Jesus comes back. I guess I'm going to go on vacation. Let you guys build Zion while I go on vacation around the world. No, it could be rescuing operations that I will be a part of, because I'm not going to stay there in Zion if everything is going fine and running smoothly for the building. So yeah, I'm going to go out and rescue people. You know, Frederick, yeah, I'm coming for you, buddy. But it has to happen. They're threatening to have it happen, so I'm expecting it to happen. So hang on, I'm coming. You're still in the place that you moved to, right? Just so that I know, so I know where to go to get you. So yeah, it'll have to be a quick operation, as once America falls, the rest of the world immediately falls. Stock markets around the world collapsing, economies collapsing, governments into chaos, the people rising up in rebellion and rioting, and then civil war and world wars as the enemy nations go and make their move on those that they've been threatening all this time. So yeah, it'll be chaos, but it will make it easier to not have to worry about borders. There's no federal government. And so, yeah, the caravan that's coming from Mexico, Fox News finally found out about it last night. I told you. Another news source knew they were already coming. And I said, Fox News hasn't caught on yet, but once they do, they'll be all over it. Sure enough, last night, finally. their caravan radar was out of function. Okay. So, what else we got here? Oh, right, I was talking about Jesus coming back to Nephi and says, where are the plates of Samuel the Lamanite? Where are the records of Samuel the Lamanite? Didn't I not prophesy that he would have zombies rising from the grave after being cremated? Again, erection, Joseph Smith. Insurrection, Brigham Young. Resurrection, me. Has nothing to do with zombies or cremation. And so, yeah, Jesus is Emmanuel. Samuel is the name of God. And Nephi is the new name. It's all the same person. These videos are my Samuel the Lamanite speeches to you guys. Well, 8K plus. So yes, these have to be preserved and make it to Zion for you. So that Mormons are like, what? Why didn't anybody tell us? YouTube kept us from watching Travis's channel, and now YouTube has been cut off from Utah. Only California and the states that are Democrat have YouTube. And so they're back to showing porn. That's gonna suck. It's not fair. All the women doing fashion try-on hauls finally allowed back on YouTube. And I'm stuck in Utah, where it's banned, just like porn is banned. Still, even though it was overruled, Utah still bans porn. They don't care about the judge's rule. God, so evil. You know, they use psychology, and yet psychology is the predatorial sex abusers with the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Just unbelievable. Unbelievable. And so, yeah, the whole records thing has got to be put in order and all that stuff. So, yeah, there's a lot of work for me to do. But, yeah, saving people's lives around the world is the top priority. So, it's going to be a big old mess. I really don't want to go through with it, but the Book of Mormon says we're going to go through with it, and Mormons are fulfilling the evil portion of the Book of Mormon, so it's happening. So this is what we're looking for. But, interestingly, and it came to pass that when Jesus had spoken these words, the whole multitude fell to the earth, and they remembered that it had been prophesied among them in the learning of the Jews that Christ himself should show himself unto them after his ascension into heaven. That's the sign in the heavens in the likeness of things on the earth. Zion. Mormons finally get it, who make it to Zion. Oh. And so thus, the 8K videos, the documents, and all that stuff that I've been collecting since the beginning of my mission in 2017 with the dream in February that thus began in May, has been commencing for, so that Mormons can now go back and see how the Book of Mormon is Jewish prophecy interpreted. And then we go to section 45, where Mormons will see me and go, oh crap. And they'll weep because they persecuted me all these years. Told me I'm mentally retarded and I need to shut up. And now they go, oh crap, that's our Christ. And so yes, there's going to be a lot of Mormons who are not going to be comfortable in my presence in Zion when they figure this out. And there will be those who will have to say, I can't stand his presence. I hate him. He's ugly. Don't like his beaten tone. And they'll leave. They'll go back into the world that's in utter chaos. They'd rather die than be with me. Right, women? Not if you're the last man on earth. So yeah, this is what we're faced with. And I don't want this to continue any further. Dear God. And so it looks like November's money for me would be my last, if this is to be the case. If plan A works. So, because now that nothing happened for Tabernacles, and you couldn't even have Nelson fall just to satisfy the curse of Joseph Smith so I could do that video. And then Oaks gets his power trip, and he's the one that ends up falling, taking down the church with him. That would be hilarious. Couldn't do that, huh? I mean, still, it's only 7 in the morning. The coroner's report would take some time if it was last night, but I'm not counting on it. I already saw President Roslin, who had a faith crisis, believing in the prophecies of the Perseid prophecies, something like that, and that it's all about Cylons. So she quit. She gives up. She's not taking her drugs anymore for her cancer that came back, even though the prophecies came to pass. It was for the Cylons. Prophecies were written by the Cylons. Hilarious. But yeah, the Battlestar Galactica, utter destruction. Enoch comes down to utter destruction. Still thinking that should be the title, but whatever catches people's attention is what I got to do. But yeah, I want to try to get the title short enough so that I can squeeze in the second coming of Jesus' cremation. So the Mormon city, probably have to shorten it to LDS City of Enoch, returns to Earth, to utterly destroyed Earth after second cremation of Jesus, something like that. Don't worry about it. We're done. So what is this, a 2.5 hour video? God. So yeah, I'll avoid pictures as much as possible. And so again, yeah, behold my beloved son in whom I am well pleased. That's Joseph Smith. That's from the Bible. It's not Jesus, remember? Behold, my son of Mary, Emmanuel, Amen, sun god of the Egyptians. Mary is beloved in Egyptian. This is what you're supposed to understand. He's Horus, the Egyptian Christ, who is given the name to every single pharaoh of Egypt. Egypt being bountiful. Zion, Heliopolis, the Sun City, the original city of Osiris, who was murdered. And then Horus restores the throne by conquering evil, casting it out into the deserts of Utah. the Western Desert. Just like the Nile River is the woman's menstruation cycle. Did you watch that video, or did you get scared and run away because it was porn? You're so cute. Alright, we're done. I don't think there's anything left. I covered everything on the notes. That's why I'm not referring to them anymore. So yeah, beware of the storms coming on the islands. These poor people, dear God. I mean, Cuba is still refusing to pay the church to get their lights turned back on, and then got hit by the hurricane, and now another one is coming to utterly destroy everything in that chain. It is massive. That's coming, and maybe it'll change, but Venture Sky does pretty good on its accuracy, and it's only a week away. So it's not like it's 10 days away, which, yes, it gets weaker after a week. Those weather girls, they only have a week of prophesying power.